skaters respect their park. They pick up their trash. They care about it. They know how hard it was to get the park, and they really take great pride in it. But if you go down there, it's a community. People, everybody knows each other. Everybody's hanging out, and they're helping each other.
Recorded at Amplified Studio in downtown Des Moines, Give and Grow is more than a podcast. It's a commitment to our community. Founded by Andy and Sarah Suzanen alongside the RIA Group, this initiative is dedicated to uplifting the organizations and individuals who work every day to make Central Iowa a better place for all. Welcome to the Give and Grow podcast, where we share the stories of the nonprofits transforming lives in our community. Each organization is featured in 3 episodes, offering a deeper, more personal look at their impact. Through conversations with passionate staff, generous donors, and the very people whose lives have been changed by their work, our hope is simple: to connect, inspire, and strengthen the bonds that make our community thrive.
Welcome to the Give and Grow podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan Spain. This is our first of 3 episodes featuring the nonprofit Skate DSM. Skate DSM works to harness the positive aspects of skateboarding. Its vision is for Des Moines to be a community where skateboarding is a celebrated activity for people of all ages and backgrounds that fosters community, creativity, health, perseverance, and leadership. Skate DSM's founder and president is Norm Sterzenbach. A native of Iowa, Norm is also a veteran political operative, working across the country on campaigns, including those at the Senate, governor, president levels. He is principal at Groundswell Public Strategies, or GPS Impact. I'm happy to have Norm Sterzenbach here with me today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Norm, you began fundraising for Skate DSM back in 2016. So tell us what led up to that and how that's worked out.
Yeah, so I was part of the fundraising committee for the now Lauritsen Skate Park, which was a near 20-year project.
Yes.
I was not involved in it for 20 years, thank goodness, but I was part of the last sort of fundraising committee that sort of pushed us over the finish line. And we met, for a couple of years, talking about different donors and different talking points and messaging on how we can raise funds to build the nation's largest skate park. And then throughout all of those discussions, we started to realize how monumental this facility is that we were building, and that we really should start thinking about what we're going to do with it when it's built.
Good point.
Because a lot, the people in that particular committee were largely donors and people with strong community networks and able to raise large sums of money, not necessarily people who were skateboarders or understood sort of that culture and that world and sort of what that would look like. So somewhere in there, we technically founded Skate DSM in 2018, but the idea came up probably in 15, 16, somewhere in there where we really started the work on it. But we really didn't know what we were going to do. I mean, we knew we were going to need an entity. We knew we were going to need a nonprofit, something to house this. And we had some general ideas. Like we had talked with Kevin Jones, the owner of Subsec Skate Shop in the East Village.
Right, of course.
And he said, well, the number one thing that I get when people come in, parents come in with their kids, they get them a new skateboard, and then they look at me like, okay, who's going to teach them how to ride it? Yeah. And Kevin's like, well, streets out there, like that's how I learned. That's how
usually
everybody
how it works, right?
But in today's world, that's just not how things work. Usually for most sports or activities, there's some sort of a club or program, that kids can go do that. It's not sort of the freewheeling 80s and 90s where,
that's
we could
such an interesting point to make. Yeah, that's very true.
So Kevin, he wasn't really in a position to do those types of lessons and camps and clinics and whatnot. So that was his first suggestion to us, was that we start with that. And so the park opened in 2021, and we we had an opening weekend, and then the park was closed because of the Dew Tour. Came in and built up all its infrastructure, and we held our first, second clinic, first at the skate park, or first involved with the skate park during the Dew Tour. Okay. And then had several more that that same year. And then the organization has kind of grown from there. And we started looking at talking with various people who are coming to our clinics. Mm-hmm. What do you want to see? Talking with other skaters. What is the need in the community? And so over the years, we've added more programs, and we've sort of adapted to, the needs of the community.
I wanted to first also bring up the structure of the skate park versus Skate DSM, so people understand what exactly we're talking about. So can you tell us a little bit about how that works? Because my understanding is the actual skate park, the physical park, is owned by Polk County.
Yep.
And is managed by Polk County Conservation.
Yep.
Okay. So where does Skate DSM come in?
So as you mentioned, Polk County and Polk County Conservation specifically owns and operates and manages the skate park. And so they handle things like regular maintenance, trash pickup, restrooms, vending contracts, other routine maintenance of the park, painting and things like that. And then they handle, contracts and whatnot for special events and things that might take place at the skate park. Skate DSM is centered around Lauritsen Skate Park, but it's not limited to Lauritsen Skate Park. So we see our footprint as Polk, Dallas, and Warren counties, basically the Des Moines metro. Mm-hmm. And we operate at multiple parks and multiple schools throughout the Des Moines metro, not just the Lauritsen Skate Park. But we have an agreement with Polk County Conservation to run skateboarding programming at the Lauritsen Skate Park. And we are I believe the only ones that do formal programming at the skate park of really any discipline, whether it's skateboarding, scooters, roller skates, BMX, any of that. I think we're the only entity that has official contract with them. Okay. Yep. And so at the Lauritsen Skate Park, we do some contests, we do camps and clinics, but we also do those things in other parts of the city.
That's great to know. So I remember when the Dew Tour came, so when the skate park opened, and it really just kind of was prompted and brought to everybody's attention with the Dew Tour, which was so exciting. So I had to go down like everybody else and see what is happening and see all these young future stars up close and personal. What was Skate DSM's role in that? And then you shared some stats with me that were pretty impressive from that. I'll also ask you to share some of that.
Sure. Well, the interesting thing is Catch Des Moines was really responsible for bringing the Dew Tour and taking the lead on making that a reality.
Excellent.
But I will say it was my idea.
Okay, good.
We had been talking for a few years about all the different events that exist in the skateboarding world and which should we be developing a relationship and trying to court to come to Des Moines and all that.
It takes community to think up these ideas, and it takes community to make it happen.
Yeah. So during COVID, obviously a lot of the world was shut down.
Yeah.
California in particular went much further than Iowa did in terms of they were closing all their skate parks because they didn't want any community gathering of people outside. And so the Dew Tour was slated to be in, I think, Huntington Beach. And it was an Olympic trial, and it was the only Olympic trial in the United States. So it was a big deal. But they couldn't host it in California because of the COVID rules. Mm-hmm. And so they were scrambling to find, I read an article where they were scrambling to find a new place to host the event. And I'm like, hey, we have fairly, say what you want about this, but we have fairly relaxed COVID restrictions in the state. The timing actually would be perfect.
Yes.
For us and for them, because it fits within their window. And we have a ready-made park that is built to Olympic specifications, which, anywhere else they would have to build one, which they were prepared to do in Huntington Beach, but that takes time, to have designers and
so much
construction and everything.
The scenes here, the stars were aligned.
Yeah, so it was perfect timing. And we obviously got really lucky.
Yeah.
And so then, Skate DSM's role once the Dew Tour was happening was really sort of working on the ground as like a liaison between the city, county, Catch Des Moines, the skate park, and like the skaters.
Yeah, because
in the
know
community.
the skaters.
Right. We were a part of all of that and help advising it. And so, for example, one of the things was the original plan was the skate park wasn't going to open until after the Dew Tour. And, we were all, this wasn't just us, but a lot of us were pushing pretty hard that people have been waiting for 20 years for the skate park.
Yeah.
And to have them show up and have to watch all the pros skate it before they get to seems seems a little unfair and, kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So we scrambled to get the park open. It was open for the weekend and then shut down. And then we also worked with Dew Tour. They were great about this in only shutting down the areas of the park that they needed.
Okay.
And only when they needed it. So
that's great. Locals were able to feel like they were still of it.
Yeah, and they could still come and skate. And then even during the Dew Tour, they kept the Flow Bowl, which is the park course on the southern side of the skate park, open during the whole event. And so what was really kind of cool about that is skaters who came to the Dew Tour and skated would just look over and there's Olympic athletes and pro skaters that are skating as well.
That's so
with
much
them
fun.
and hanging out, which was a really cool experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, and for Des Moines as a whole. So the economic impact was pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, I believe Catch Des Moines said that overall the Dew Tour created an $11 million economic impact for Des Moines.
Yeah, so you kind of spelled that out for me, how we can look at that. Where did that come from? Like, how was that generated? You kind of mentioned through all the coaches that come and...
Yeah. So, I don't know the exact formula that Catch DSM or Catch Des Moines uses for those metrics, but I know that it includes things like we had obviously a lot of out-of-state travel, out-of-country travel, because it's the Olympic trials. So we had people from all across the globe coming here to compete. And so that's a lot of hotel rooms, both for the athletes, for coaches, a little less in the first Dew Tour than it was in the second Dew Tour because of COVID. So there were Olympic restrictions on particularly non-athletes, just to protect the athletes through everything. But the footprint of it was pretty big. Obviously, we had the skate park, but then they closed a good portion of 2nd Avenue where they had vendors and infrastructure built. And then they took over a large portion of the Iowa Event Center for athlete registration and everything. And then all the hotels were filled. And so you had all this revenue of people coming in. And so they were staying in the hotels, they were eating at our restaurants.
Well, it seems like a great kickoff for the opening.
Absolutely. And we even had some pro skaters came in for the opening because they knew a week later
they're going to be here.
Yeah, so they came in to practice because it was a public park. And
get used to the park.
Yep.
Excellent. So you're a skater.
Oh, actually, one more metric. Multiple times during the Olympics, well, we call it the 2020 Olympics that took place in 2021.
Yes, right.
Because of COVID.
Funny days.
But during both the street and park competitions, they mentioned Des Moines nonstop because it was the last qualifying event. Most of the skaters who qualified from the Des Moines event simply because there weren't other events because COVID had shut them all down. And
skateboarding was getting a lot of attention at those Olympics because it's
brand new.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just such a win-win all the way around. I love that.
Yep.
Good. Great info. So tell us a little bit about your skating background because you're in politics and you skate. That's an interesting combination.
Well, skaters exist everywhere.
Yes, right.
In all disciplines of the world. So I got started skateboarding in the 80s. It's a little embarrassing to say, but it's not a unique story for people my age, but Back to the Future.
Right.
So, the character Marty McFly was on a skateboard and was doing some basic maneuver in there, but it was sort of like, it just captured my attention as a 10-year-old, like, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to do this. And so, got a skateboard, I think from Target, and then that wasn't very good. And so, I had done BMX before that. And so, about the same time,
And for people who don't know what BMX is, what is BMX?
Think about the dirt bike that everybody had when they grew up.
Yeah.
That's BMX.
Yeah.
So no gears, no, it's not a multi-speed bike. It's just a
little squat bike. And did you ever do the races?
I didn't race, but I
Okay.
was a BMX freestyler, which
Got
was doing tricks in a tight space rather than
Nice.
on a track.
Okay, so then you transferred to, you added
so about the same
skateboarding.
time that I was getting excited about skateboarding, the bike shop started to invest and put a section of skateboarding.
Oh, yeah.
Skateboards
Nice.
and equipment and stuff there, and hired like a local skater. And so, we started hanging out there as kids do. They hang out at the skate shop, and
I love going by there and seeing all that activity.
Yes, it's
pretty
always
great.
packed with
It's a
skaters.
community.
It's a skate shop is the heart and soul of skateboarding. Not every community has a skate park. Most communities of a certain size have a skate shop, and that becomes the place, the gathering place of community where everybody goes and gathers. So I skated in the 80s, had a half pipe in my backyard.
Nice.
And, I sort of high school hit, girls, other things. So my attention
Kind of
veered
waned
in
a
other
little bit.
directions. Yeah. And I really didn't skate that much, a little bit in college, and didn't skate that much over the years until I got involved in this project. And then I got back into it. I got a new skateboard and, tried to get back into doing it. It's different at my age than it was when you're 10.
I can imagine.
But still fun.
Yeah.
Mostly I just roll around at the park and,
Take it in.
get some exercise and just enjoy
Yeah.
the feel of being on a skateboard rather than trying to do too much with tricks. But I can still do a couple of the things I used to do.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good. So I wanted to also ask you about the misconceptions about skateboarding, because there's stereotypes still out there. People don't like how it impacts our concrete and our railings and our benches, all that good stuff. That comes to mind. It also comes to mind like maybe just the attitude of skaters. People kind of like have assumptions about. I kind of thought about maybe it's a little similar to a kid telling their parents they want to be an artist. It's like, oh no,
Right.
how are you going to make a living?
Right.
So tell us how that is going in the world of
Yeah.
skateboarding.
Yeah. I mean, skateboarding is counterculture. It started in the 70s and 80s, and it was really sort of a rebellion against, sort of normal pop culture, if you will. And then, remarkably in the 80s became a big portion of pop culture
Yes.
back in the time.
I love that aspect.
And so, but it's always been sort of, counterculture from the streets. There's always been an aggressive element to it. What really made it take off was the Z Boys in California from Zephyr Skate Shop, the team there that were really aggressive skaters and really changed how skaters viewed the skateboard. Before, it was sort of like a dance, if you will, on a skateboard. People would skate barefoot. It
interesting,
was,
yeah.
and they would do these, almost like it was really like dance tricks and yoga and ballet and stuff on these skateboards. And these guys came in from Southern California,
Made
these
it a
surfers, and
different
were like,
thing.
"Are you kidding me? Like, this is ridiculous." So they started skating because when they couldn't surf. And so they were also aggressive surfers, and so then had an aggressive style of skateboarding, and really just changed everything, flipped everything on its head, and that's really sort of where it took off. But I do think it is a pretty big misconception because, I mean, obviously with any sport, any activity, there are elements of, there are bad elements that exist within it.
Right.
And there certainly is in skateboarding. Like, I don't want to gloss over the fact, but you have that in basketball and football and everything else. So
Very true.
it's not unique to skateboarding. But I think what a lot of people tend to miss, first off, is how difficult skateboarding actually is and what it takes to really be good at skateboarding. If you go out for football, you have a coach and you have practice. And if you don't show up to practice, the coach is going to make you run laps and discipline you for not taking the sport seriously. And if you continue to not take it seriously, then you're off the team, right?
Right.
Like, it's a pretty common in most sports. Skateboarding doesn't have a coach. Skateboarding doesn't have somebody saying, get up, you got to be at the park at 9 a.m. and you got to be doing this. It's all self-discipline. So if they want to get good at it, they have to take it upon themselves to go out and do this. And skateboarding's hard. I mean, you know, if you get knocked down with football, you got a bunch of pads on and it may hurt, but you're going to get back up and you're going to keep going and playing the sport. But it's different when you fall on concrete or you break your arm and you have blood everywhere, right? And that's part of skateboarding. You know, it's a very when you fall, it can be really aggressive and very gnarly. But in order to succeed, you have to get back up and try it again. You have to shake it off. You have to say, okay, what did I learn from that? What did I do differently? Oh, my foot, I think, was in the wrong spot, or my balance seemed to be off because I fell forward rather than staying above the board. And so you make these tiny little adjustments and you keep going and you keep going and keep going until you feel it and it's just right. And so skateboarding takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of perseverance. And those are hugely important life skills for later on.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, the other thing that's so prevalent within skateboarding is just creativity. You know, a lot of skateboarders are artists or musicians. And skateboarding itself is creative. You know, there is the technical side of, yes, that is a kickflip. But it's how you do that kickflip and how you look doing that kickflip or that 360 flip that really sets you apart from other skaters, because it's the style and how you dress, how you act, how your arms are, everything, right? It's a big part of it. And a lot of people view skateboarding as a release and self-expression. And so, that's what if you look deeper, that's what I think you tend to see in skateboarders, particularly ones that are really good. They're very disciplined. They persevere. They're very creative. They're very stylish.
And those are really great qualities.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We want in our kids.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's an amazing sport. And the other thing, it also is something that you can do on your own time. And so if you don't have the ability to get to practice at 5 p.m. every single day of the week because your parents work and you can't get there, that can shut a lot of people out of certain activities or the cost.
Absolutely. Sure.
You know, I mean, my daughter, luckily for my pocketbook, wasn't super involved in
it can rack up
in athletic, you know, sports and other activities. But I have a lot of friends who were, and it takes up their entire summer. It's hugely expensive.
Time-consuming, yes.
Skateboarding is just different. You know, it's basically $150 cost of entry to buy your skateboard, maybe a helmet, and you can do it whenever you want. You can do it in your driveway. You can do it at a skate park. You can do it downtown. You can do it at a regular park. Like, it's just very accessible. And I think that makes it, it appeals to a lot of folks, particularly those folks that get shut out of other activities.
Yeah. Tell me more about that, because I loved that aspect of the community part where the counterculture, it's where people that maybe not fit in other places find a community there. Yeah.
I mean, and skateboarding really is community. I mean, if you go down to the skate park, there is as much hanging out as there is skating. Now, there's people that go to the skate park, and usually if you hear about instances or trouble at the skate park, 99% of the time it's not a skater. It's somebody who just came to the skate park to hang out, because it's kind of one of those places that people like to go hang out. So if there's graffiti or vandalism, it's usually somebody else. Skaters respect their park. They pick up their trash. They care about it. They know how hard it was to get the park, and they really take great pride in it. But if you go down there, it's a community. People, everybody knows each other. Everybody's hanging out, and they're helping each other. You know, you see a kid that's out there that's struggling. Usually an older skater or more experienced skater will come over and give them some tips, or ask them if they want some tips, or talk to the parent and see if it's okay. If you see a kid who's trying to learn how to drop in, which is there's the ollie and dropping in are two like milestones, I think, with skateboarding. Okay. Dropping in is very scary because you're up on top of a ramp looking down, and you have to lean forward
and do it. Commit.
And it's not hard. It's scary.
Yeah.
So you got to get over that fear of doing it. But if you see a kid who's starting and learning to drop in, everyone's watching.
Oh.
And they're cheering. When the kid makes it, they cheer.
That's pretty awesome. Because I would think, like, if you were a young kid or anybody starting to skateboard, you might feel quite shy and intimidated.
Absolutely.
By the community that's already established, and like, where do I fit in? How do I not embarrass myself completely or feel comfortable even showing up?
Yeah. And, everybody falls.
Yeah.
But when you're first doing it, it's like, oh, everyone's going to laugh at me or point at me and stare. And no, I mean,
it's just part of it.
They might tease you a little bit in fun, but not in a mean way, because everybody falls. Yeah. Everybody gets hurt. That's just part of skateboarding. So you've got this community that exists there. They're all friends. They all hang out. They skate together at the park. They hang out outside of the park. They develop these friend groups. They go to the skate shop together. A lot of them will travel to other skate parks together, in-state, out-of-state. They film each other. So on their phones, which, skateboarding is highly visible, and Instagram is the core of most skateboarding. Okay. So everybody films clips and posts clips of themselves skating, shares clips of everybody else, but they film each other, So there's a few filmers that exist, and that's sort of their thing. They do that. But that's a little bit more, we're all going out and skating together, and I'm going to film the crew.
Right.
But just day to day, people pull out their phone, and I'll film you, and then you film me, and so it's very much a community.
Nice. Excellent. Well, I am wondering about the structure of Skate DSM. So you have about $150,000 budget, so pretty small.
Good year, yeah.
And volunteer run for the most part. Tell us about that so the listeners understand what kind of organization you are.
Yeah, well, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our operating budget's relatively small compared to most nonprofits.
Yeah.
Luckily, we don't need to go too much farther, although it would be nice to have some full-time staff. We have one part-time instructor who's half-time, and he leads all of our instructors. And then we have a few, maybe 5 hourly instructors that help us do our camps, clinics, skate club, after-school programs, things like that. But the rest is all volunteer. A volunteer board of directors. Most of the administration, logistics work is done by me, and I have another full-time job. So,
yes.
So it keeps me busy. Our next reach goal is to hire an executive director, and we're working towards, having the revenue, having enough of money in the budget to be able to.
Yeah, because you're at an interesting point in the nonprofit evolution where, there's a lot of energy to start it up. You've got these volunteers, but then you actually have to think about the long term and how, paying an executive director is probably needed. And sometimes that's a hard sell sometimes. So
it's
tell us
scary.
about that.
It's scary, first of all, because you never want to hire somebody if you don't know how you can pay for them.
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
And so, because one, you lose the person, but also it's just not how you want to operate, right? You want to hire somebody who is going to be there for a while and really love the organization and can help build it and help it grow. And so it's scary. You got to have a certain amount of money built in. And really the challenging part, which, when I started Skate DSM, I knew nothing really about nonprofits. I knew about 501c4s and a little bit C3 because of my political work. It's political.
Okay.
So it's an IRS designation that is, it's not tax deductible contributions, but you can spend money on certain political activities. So I never really done this aspect of it. And one of the things that was shocking to me is how restrictive some of donations are, grants and other foundation donations that can't be used for operating expenses
or staff.
Yeah. So
how does that work?
How are we supposed to pay for
the
organization without if our main source of money comes from these places, how are we supposed to do this?
Right.
And so then you got to go to individual donors. And we have a great slew of individual donors, but also I want to go and talk about the amazing kids and the programs that we're running and all of that stuff. I don't want to talk about how I got to make, we're trying to determine whether or not we can afford healthcare.
Oh my gosh, it is such a hard pain point of nonprofits, running nonprofits. It's like the fundraising is really so consuming that it is sometimes very frustrating that you have to spend so much time when you just want to do the work you're there to do.
Yeah. And it's getting harder.
Yeah.
Obviously there's been a lot of changes in, federal funding, which, we don't get federal funding, but the impact that has on the overall community, because then there are greater needs within the community. And so then our more traditional donors, they are stretched.
Are distracted
because
by these other needs.
Right. Because, we're all human.
Absolutely.
I don't want to argue that housing people is more important or is less important than skateboarding or feeding people.
I just wish
so,
it wouldn't have to be like that. Yeah.
And so, we do our best to talk about the positive benefits and what our organization can do, but we also recognize that there are other needs in the community and, corporate giving is down. Obviously the federal funding that cuts it off. So that money's got to come maybe made up from somewhere or services get cut. And so the climate right now is a lot harder.
Nonprofits, I think, are also feeling the pressure to be earning revenue in that regard. Have you thought of that and how Skate DSM might be able to earn more revenue?
Yeah. I mean, that is obviously something that we think about a lot.
Yeah.
And so, there's a few things, we charge people for our camps and clinics.
Sure.
And we make a little bit of money off of that once we pay our instructors and everything. And then, most of our after school programs, we get grant funding, whether it's 21st Century through Des Moines Public Schools or other, education grant funding that the schools provide to us. And that helps quite a bit. Although with our after school programs, if a kid completes the program from start to finish, they get a brand new skateboard and helmet to keep. And so that's
incentive.
So so we make a lot less off of those programs by offering that, but we're trying to create skateboarders, right? And so we're trying to remove the barrier to entry for skateboarding. And then we do, most of our contests have some sort of a registration fee to get in. But the revenue source is not huge. And you try to balance it with, I don't want to charge the skaters who also don't have a ton of money either. We're trying to make skateboarding more accessible and keep the barrier low.
Yeah.
So it's hard to then look at that as a revenue source.
Nonprofits are just it's fascinating how much it takes to balance all the scales that are included in it. And you feel it even being a very small one, in even the larger ones do. It doesn't matter what your budget is, it seems.
Yeah, and we're exploring a lot of different ideas because we're sort of in that ready to take the next phase. So do we do like big fundraising event of some kind? But then obviously that's a huge lift on its own. There's a lot of expenses to that, and no guarantee that you're going to recoup those.
Right.
And a lot of work, and who's going to put in? How does that impact the programming that we do to be able to run those? Are we going to make enough money off of an event to make it worth it? The effort that we had to put into it?
Yeah, and a lot of times when you start a fundraiser, that's a really tight margin. But to get it to be one that's worth it takes
years.
Perseverance and years and lots of volunteers and people that really believe in it.
Or you can start huge and then you can't recreate that the second year.
Yes.
We've talked about we could bring in somebody like Tony Hawk and
of course
it would be great, but that's probably a one-time shot, right? And so maybe the first event's great, but then what do you do the second event that makes it equally as good or better so that you can continue to grow? And, so we're having a lot of those discussions. Unfortunately, we haven't come to any resolution on them, but we're talking about
going down that road.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I would imagine this is the case with any nonprofit, that most of our time is spent discussing how we can raise more money. And every little thing, like we have, next month we have an event at Up Down Arcade Bar.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, they do a thing, Coins for a Cause, right? And
Oh,
we've done
nice.
it a couple of times where basically for a 5-hour block on a Wednesday, 100% of the token sales goes to the nonprofit, which is nice.
Yeah.
Nice little thing. There's a lot of companies do things like that,
They
selling
do.
gift cards or things. But then, you know, every time you look at it, it's like, okay, well, that's great, but how much work is it going to take? How much are we going to net from it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can only ask your volunteers to do so much.
Yes.
You know, and so you want to make sure that every time you're asking a volunteer that it's something that you need and that it's going to provide real value to the organization, because you're asking them to give up their time
Right.
and their personal networks or whatever it is, you know, and so you want to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so there's always that balance, but every call I do with our volunteers or with our board, whatever it is, it's a good chunk of it is fundraising. Yeah. Any new ideas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. I wish there was, you know, luckily there's a lot of different options. It's just a matter of figuring out the right formula for your particular nonprofit. And again, that perseverance I found is just so key, because people need to believe that this is happening. This is, they are in it for the long run. So it's just an interesting dance.
Yeah, well, and especially when you're new and you're just trying
Yeah.
to figure all this stuff out. Like grant writing was brand new.
Yeah.
Never done it before. You know, and
That's
then
fun.
you get the standard form letter rejection.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, you write back anything I could do to improve it. You know, misaligned with our core principles. Okay, how so?
Yeah,
Like,
not a lot of insight
because
for
there's
most
also
of
not
them,
a
right?
lot of
Yeah.
not a lot of direction on what your core principles are listed, but I think we fit.
Yes.
You don't. Why not?
Yeah, let's talk.
And
Yeah.
so, and then all of a sudden, like you can apply for a grant for 3 or 4 years in a row and not get it, and then all of a sudden you do, and still no feedback. Like, what changed? What
yeah,
do we
what
do
changed?
now?
We want some insights. Yeah.
How can I improve? You know, how can I? Is there, or you know, I applied for this amount and I got this amount. What can I do? Do you just not give that amount regularly, or is that like a long-term relationship?
that's a
How do we
fact,
grow?
too.
You know, and so
Right. That's a good
but
point.
It's hard when you're not a grant writer and you know you don't do this professionally. It's hard to navigate that system and try to do better. But
Yeah.
you know,
Do you explore, I'm sure you do, sponsorships in
Yes.
that regard?
Yep.
Just, there's just, you have to have a lot of buckets.
yeah, it's all diversification.
Yeah.
You know, it's so we have a big contest next month, the Des Moines Street Style Open, and we have sponsors for that. You know, and we try to go for that towards people that are more interested in event sponsorship.
Yeah.
You know, and that's more their thing. And so then it's, you know, branding and marketing and, you know, vendor booths and activation space, things like that. Whereas there's others that are more interested in the work we do directly with kids.
Yes.
You know,
They all
or
have their
giving away
priorities.
equipment. And so
And
you
like
try to align.
Yeah.
You
You mentioned too, like when companies like to give a portion of their sales to a nonprofit, like everybody's doing that now at the grocery store. Do you want to round up? And I say no to those because I just don't have enough information. I'd rather give more intentionally. And, you know, some people may think, oh, well, I'm doing that. Isn't that enough? Where it's benefiting the company, I feel sometimes
much as
more than the nonprofit.
At least as much.
Yeah,
as the
because
nonprofit.
they're giving back. That sounds good.
It's good marketing, and it tax write-off because they pool all that
Yes,
together and make
for
one large
them.
check. Yes.
Yes.
And you're right. Like, you know, when that thing pops up on the screen, you got
It's hard. You know, you
5
feel
seconds
guilty
to make that decision.
Yeah.
And
to say
you know,
no, but I'm embracing it. I'm
yeah.
saying
And so
no.
you hear the name of the organization. Oh, that sounds like a good one. Or like, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I probably don't want to tell people that's a bad thing, but
No, I mean, it's great.
just
Look,
my
it's great. It's
preference.
putting more money into into these organizations. And I think
Exactly,
that
right.
is always a good thing.
That's the end goal,
but
which is nice.
yeah, I wish there were easier and other ways that we could do that.
Yeah.
Would, as you said, more intentional.
Well, I'm hoping this, Give and Grow podcast can really help bring that into the forefront more, because I don't think the general public really understand how difficult it is. They know it's difficult, but don't know the details behind it.
Yeah.
So tell us about that event you mentioned. What events do you have coming up? How do people find out what you're doing? And
well, we actually have a skate contest tomorrow at Lauritsen Skate Park. It's called the Secret Series. Well, tomorrow.
Yes.
Today versus tomorrow, not when this airs, so it'll already be done at that point. It's called the Secret Series, and this is it's actually an idea that came from one of our instructors who wanted to do an event that was geared mostly towards local skaters. So we have beginner and advanced, and it's just a fun little community contest to get skaters together, show off what they can do. They win some money.
So what do they have to do what do participants
this one is,
do?
the first one we did was in May, and it was on the park course. This one is a street obstacle, so it's a A-frame with a rail and a gap and, technical terms. But they perform tricks, and we do what's called cash for tricks. So if you put down a good trick, you win some money.
Oh, fun.
If you put down a better trick, you win a little bit more money, right? If you put down a trick somebody just did and won money, you don't get anything. Unless that was a huge trick for you, particularly for the beginners. If somebody, if they land their first trick in a contest and they've been struggling at it, they'll win a little bit of money. So it's just fun. Nice. It's just a lot of energy, and, it's not too formal. The event, and so we have 4 of those this year. And this is the first year we're doing it. We're kind of trying a bunch of different things.
And what's the title of it again?
It's called the Secret Series.
Okay.
And so the idea is that we announce the whole series, and then we give clues as to what the obstacle is. And then people have to guess, and then we'll announce the obstacle later.
So they got to guess to try to practice. Yeah. Okay. That's fun.
And then Des Moines Freestyle Open, which takes place Labor Day weekend, Thursday through Saturday. This will be our 5th year that we're doing it, and it's modeled after this event called the Copenhagen Open in Denmark that's been going on for 25 years now. It's the skaters' favorite event across the globe because it mimics authentic street skateboarding. So it is the type of skateboarding that skateboarders do regularly every day, not a formal timed contest where they're getting scores and every obstacle is perfect and it's perfectly built. This is more raw, you know? And
where does that take place?
All over. So this is the first year that we're doing, or the 5th year that we're doing it. And this year we have a couple of events at Principal Park, Cub Stadium. So we're skating one of their concession stands as an obstacle. And then we have up by Coles Commons, there is a hill that skaters skate down it. So it's kind of like, hey, we're going to go skate downtown. Let's meet at the hill. And so they do what's called a hill bomb. And they just basically go down the hill super fast. So we have one of those so people will bomb the hill for 20 minutes or so, and then we'll throw a couple of contests in there. That'll be fun and exciting. And then we have 2 events at Coles Commons. We're partnering with Red Bull they have this, they've been doing this contest for a couple of years called Ensemble, which is basically they take teams from different skate shops. So Subsex Skate Shop has a skate team, for example, and they bring them all together and they give them these odd obstacles that they can manipulate and do whatever they want and film like a video. And then with all their skaters, and they have to, whatever, a certain time. They have a certain amount of time to film the video and edit the video and turn it in.
Okay.
And so they're bringing those obstacles down, and we're going to do a broader contest with those. And actually, they're bringing all their teams in that competed in that, and they'll announce the winners at our event.
Oh, nice.
As well. So
you have people coming in from out of town for that?
This event, we have people coming from all across the country and even the globe.
How do you find out about the schedule of it?
Instagram.
Okay.
So we haven't actually announced it. We're probably announcing it like Monday, Tuesday next week. But if you go to Instagram, follow us there, or check out our website. Or even DesMoinesFreestyleOpen.com.
So you have a website for it too. Okay.
Yep. And so we bring in pro skaters. We bring in skaters from across the country. People travel for it. We have a partnership, as I mentioned, with Red Bull. So it's 3 days. We have events all across the downtown area. So like I said, Coles Commons and Principal Park, the Iowa Event Center outside, Public Library downtown, the Hill, and then we'll have a couple of events at Lauritsen Skate Park also. We'll have some traditional contests as well, street contests and a park contest that take place there. But yeah, we bring in pro skaters and they skate with top pros, top amateurs, locals, Midwesterners, people across the country. We've had people as far away as Spain, Portugal.
Fun.
They come in for it. Yeah.
Right on. They're coming to Des Moines.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
When I moved back to Des Moines, it was funny how friends didn't come visit us here. It's like when we lived in Santa Fe and Los Angeles, people tend to visit us there. Not so much in Des Moines. So that's nice to hear. It's like, we have things here, right?
Yeah. Well,
to come see. It's
part of the original concept for this is, as somebody who lived in Des Moines for 20 years, I love the city. And I didn't want people who came to town to skate the skate park to stay at the hotel across the street, skate at the park, order a DoorDash.
Yeah.
And get up and do it all over again the next day. I wanted them to get out and see the city a little bit and showcase what we did. So last year we did an event at the Papa John Sculpture Park, which was great.
What a great backdrop.
A lot of the people that came, locals that came, had never been there before. And so, it's reminding them that we have this amazing asset in our city.
Yeah, so when people do actually come, I love that awe that they have once they do.
Yeah, and and the city is so accessible.
Yeah.
And that's also a great concept, similar with the event in Copenhagen, that people skate from contest to contest. And you can't do that in LA.
No, you really can't.
But you can do it here.
Yes.
And so,
that's great.
And so we encourage that.
Nice.
Not sure how
Get
traffic
around.
feels about it, but
yeah, right.
But we encourage it because I think it's fun.
Seems pretty positive. Absolutely. So Norm, tell me your favorite movie or television series about skateboarding.
I don't know if there are television series.
I was wondering that too.
About skateboarding.
Like documentary style, maybe more than anything.
I mean, not so much even like maybe an episode. HBO has done a couple documentaries where it's professional athletes and then multiple disciplines, and they may throw a skater in there. Tony Hawk's documentary is really good that HBO produced.
Okay.
Until the Wheels Fall Off. So it's about, his 40 plus years of skateboarding. And obviously he's
had such a great career.
Biggest name in skateboarding, but also has done so much for the sport. One, to make it mainstream. He's probably more so than any single person responsible for getting in the Olympics. And he's got a nonprofit that builds skate parks across the globe. And so, just been great for skateboarding. So that documentary is really great. Can't remember the name of it, but there's a documentary about Leo Baker, who is a trans skater who transitioned, was a female skater, top one of the top female skaters, and then just wasn't her, and so she didn't feel herself. Right. Ended up pulling herself out of the Olympics because she just didn't feel like she could compete as a woman. And so it tells her story and then tells the whole story of that part of skateboarding, which is hugely inclusive. And there's organizations, Skate Like a Girl, Exposure, that really focus on female and LGBTQ, transgender skaters and give them a safe community space to
Great. We
to
can
skate.
List these on our blog on the website.
Yeah,
so
I'd be happy to send you.
Can go there and find out more. And
some really great organizations that do that. So that documentary, which I think is on Netflix, is really good. As far as a movie, Thrashin' is the one that I grew up with. There were two that came out in the 80s, Thrashin' and Gleaming the Cube. Thrashin' had Josh Brolin before he was Josh Brolin. It was right before, I think he either filmed it right before Goonies or right after Goonies. So it was before he took off, before he became a name. He's like the lead star in it. And then Gleaming the Cube has Christian Slater.
Fantastic.
And so they're terrible movies, but the skateboarding is pretty good. And if you're from that age, and a skater, you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So those two are my favorites. And then there's just all kinds of skate videos that are
YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's the clips and stuff that go on, but then there's like more produced videos. So Powell Peralta and the Bones Brigade had a lot in the 80s that were really good.
Okay.
Baker 3 Baker's a skateboard company.
Okay.
So it was their third in a series that was probably
Thank you for explaining that.
one of the biggest, like everybody knows Baker 3 and skateboarding. Yeah. Everybody knows that one. And then Day One versus Rodney. So two skaters that basically had a competition with each other. They filmed separate parts, and it was set up as a competition style. Two amazing skateboarders from the 90s. Rodney Mullen is what they would consider the godfather of modern street skating. He won every competition in the 80s, but the discipline he had was called freestyle, and no one liked it. He was just the best at it, but it became the foundation for all of your flip tricks, and he invented all of them.
Oh, wow.
And learned how to do them, and that are now mainstream. And so then when the 80s boom fell, he needed to transition into something else to keep. And so he became a street skater and was amazing at that also. And so him and Day One had a video series that was basically, I did this today. And then so they would, the next one, go out and film trying to do the same thing. And it's a competition. So those are some of my favorite ones.
Good suggestions. Thanks so much. And thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, great talk. And we look forward to sharing information on our blog about all the resources you mentioned.
Yeah, I'll be happy to provide you a list.
All right, excellent. To learn more about Skate DSM, you can visit them at skatedsm.org and on Instagram. And we also have 2 more podcast episodes to look forward to. I will be speaking with donor Virginia Lordson and a 9-year-old skateboarder who is growing up with the benefiting from Skate DSM's programming. Listeners can tune in to Give and Grow DSM podcast on their favorite streaming platforms and at giveandgrowdsm.org. Thanks for listening.